wonderful change. Y'all remember this? Has come over me.
One is picking more much tuning to it. Wncr-Tv Now as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. Super late this morning, but nevertheless, I'm here. How about that? Nevertheless, I am here this morning. 33 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour this morning on Wncr-TV, WAJA 102.5, as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. Forgot about that. So, of course, this morning I've been watching other news outlets and slipped my time spectrum there as to what time it was. But so all over, of course, social media, all across national, international television, it is the passing of the Pope Francis there, who served as the Pope for over a decade. And he passed earlier this morning, Vatican time. I think it was like 7:30 or somewhere thereabout. And so there'll be the big funeral services for him, and then it'll be the election of a new pope, and all of that will take place in the coming days or weeks, should I say? Maybe not days. Days may be a little too quick for it. So in the coming weeks. I said days again. In the coming weeks. So what's happening in North Carolina? Again, Pope Francis, the first Latino American who ministered with charming and humble style, dies at 88. Of course, that's from Vatican City, according to the Associated Press. Pope Francis' history, first Latino American who charmed the world with his humble style and concern for the poor, but alienated conservatives with his critiques of capitalism and climate change, died on Monday. He was 88 years old. Then, of course, the question then goes is what happens next after the death of Pope Francis. The death of Pope Francis has triggered a period of mourning in the Vatican and signals to start a millennial-old process of picking a new pope or pontiff. It is a procedure steeped in tradition, but one which has been stability updated from out of here. You know, of course, if you look for the black smoke, the white smoke, and one of the smokes, let me say the cardinals from around the world must gather for a conclave, in which Francis' successor will be selected. It typically takes between 2 and 3 weeks for a pope to be chosen, though it can stretch slightly beyond that if the cardinals struggle to agree on a candidate. The voting process is kept secret, but will take place in the eyes of the world on the Vatican amidst intense scrutiny of the Catholic Church, an institution whose reputation has been stained by a scandal of child sex abuse within its ranks, overshadowed the legacies of successful popes. Wow. Here's what you know about the upcoming days and weeks. Here's what happened during the period of the mourning. The period between the death one pope and the election of another begins when Francis passed away on Monday. The cardinals must now decide exactly when the funeral will take place, and after that, the conclave will begin. But much of the timeline is predetermined. The Pope's death triggered the start of a 9 days of mourning. Then the Pope must be buried between the 4th and 6th day after death. The body of the Pope must also be displayed at St. Peter's for mourning, and the Mass will take place on each day. Mourners line up for miles to see the body of the Pope, John Paul II, the last serving Pope to die in office in 2005, and that's the one I remember. It is likely that unofficial events will take place in Buenos Aires, where Francis lived before becoming the Bishop of Rome. In Warsaw, more than 200,000 people gathered at the gravesite with John Paul II. Then, at the end of the period of mourning, a large funeral mass will take place at St. Peter's. This historical huge event of dignitaries expected from around the world. John Paul's II funeral was attended by then President George Bush, his two predecessors, Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush. When his election of a new pope began, when the pope dies, the dean of the Sacred College of Cardinals call a meeting of the cardinals eligible to vote, those under the age of 80. Wow, so you cannot vote after you're over 80. Interesting. Those under the age of 80. They must all travel to the Vatican to do so. There are currently 136 eligible cardinals, but it's worth remembering that in 1996, John Paul II set the maximum number of cardinals to be allowed to participate at 120. Conclaves is not expected to begin earlier than 15 days, no later than 20 days after the Pope's death, though it could get underway sooner if all the cardinals electors arrive in Rome quickly. So that's what happens there. There it is. And it says ballots are burned after the votes once the morning or once in the afternoon. If the Pope hasn't been elected, the ballots will be burned along with a chemical that makes the smoke black. There it is. If white smoke billows from the chimney, however, it means that they have a new Pope. So we'll be looking for the white smoke. The white smoke. I can't remember which one it was, but thank you for technology that's enabled me to be able to find it very quickly. I want to say good morning to Gwendolyn Swain. Thank you for tuning in to Wncr-Tv Now. We certainly appreciate you. And others, Will Manley, good morning. Good morning to James Bullock, Irma Maxwell, and Jabber Manning. We thank you all for tuning in to this super late edition of Wncr-Tv Now. What is happening in our local community? Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about today. I got to play this video. Okay, I'm gonna take this phone call, but yeah, I forget. Yeah, this is interesting. Hey, caller, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bronson, and welcome back.
Thank you much.
A couple of weeks ago, there was acting like he was doing hunky-dory. I don't get why they lied about it, knowing the man was still sick.
Oh yeah, well, he went for the pneumonia and all that kind of stuff. His heart, lung, and all that.
Yeah, and at his age, they act like he was doing so well. He's up and about, that, one thing or another. I felt that he was still kind of under the weather, and I feel sorry for him. But my question is, will they ever vote in a black pope?
Maybe. This might be the season.
Well, who's in the running? Who?
Well, I have no idea.
Can we find that out? Can we find it out?
There'll probably be some media conversation about likely popes, because I think I kind of remember that back in the 2005 when John Paul died. I don't really remember the election of Francis, but again, because I guess the other person resigned, Benedict, and so he didn't die. He died a year ago. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure they'll be talking about likely pope possibilities.
Well, that's a long, drawn-out ceremony. I know he's a dignitary, but that's just too long for them to have a funeral procession. Not procession, but have a funeral that long. It just don't make sense. And I know he's a well-renowned religious person, but that's just too long. That process is just too long. But I wish they had told the truth about him, because when it came on the news last week, I believe it was, he was doing all good and sitting up and writing and doing this, that, and one thing or another. And I know people can have a setback, but I felt that they didn't tell the truth about it.
And then he was participating in Easter services yesterday.
Huh?
They say he came and participated in Easter services yesterday and gave his blessing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. And so I don't know. I just think they pushed him out into the public a little bit too fast. I really do. But only they know. But that's just my thought of it.
Okay, I got
look, Deborah Morgan. Deborah Morgan.
Uh-huh.
All my reading about her leaving WRAL, they said she's black. Is she black?
I don't think she is. I think she's white. But again, if she says she is, I'm not going to say she's not. But I don't know.
Because when I checked, I was trying to find out about the girl that was there before Pam Salisbury, the pretty black girl, and she don't even pop up nowhere. And they keep putting Deborah Morgan in the mix of a black female. So I'm like, if she's black, Lord have mercy. I'm just stunned. But Maybe she knows. Thank you.
All right, take care. So I want to talk about Nash County. The other day, Nash County had a budget retreat. I go to these sometimes. I didn't go to this one, but it is online. And so it's about a 4 hour plus meeting. But what I want to share is a conversation that transpired between the commissioners in regards to outside agency funding. And this is where the county commissioners vote on, eventually they will vote on giving outside agencies dollars to support whatever their cause is in the upcoming year. So just take a listen and view of this.
It is well established, it targets a unique population, and it has strong partnerships. Finally, is Strategic Twin Counties Education Partnership, or STEP. Students at Work is designed to bridge gaps between the classroom and workplace skills. The program will provide work-based learning and support non-college bound high school graduates to ensure that they are prepared to join the workforce. The target population is underrepresented students who most likely live in poverty and with few resources, and also opportunity youth. Opportunity youth are those who are 16 to 24 years old and who are disconnected from school or are unemployed. For STEP, we are recommending $10,000. This is because the program targets a unique population and has strong community partnerships. Last year, the recommendation was $7,500 as an education applicant who did not receive funding previously or in the prior year. The program reporting and implementation went well, so our recommendation was to increase their amount to $10,000 this year. Are there any questions?
Any questions or discussion? Commissioner Wilkins?
Here it is.
First of all, I would say I don't know where to begin, but my concern is Casa Azul de Wilson, and I've had conversations with many of you on the board and staff. Yes, we approved them last year, and I will have to say, with the exception of Commissioner Howell, who was not here, I feel we did not do our due diligence. Casa Azul de Wilson is in Wilson County, and I don't believe should receive Nash taxpayer money. They may serve Wilson County, but we set a precedent. If we do this again, are we going to start taking applications from Native Opportunity Way, an American Indian organization in Halifax County? Are we going to take applications from the NAACP? Their website specifically targets and says they help Hispanic and Latinx families. We cannot, as a government agency, contribute to an organization that may exclude or is blatantly says that is the ethnicity they support. It says nothing about anything else. And to say that, Downey's Partnership for Children, they're in the city limits of Rocky Mount, as is Nash County is. Again, Wilson is not to give taxpayer money to Casa Azul de Wilson and to give them $10,000 when you have other Nash County entities that are getting less. And not only that, on March the 8th, I received an email from Ms. Tia Fuller. After our one-on-one meetings, not one-on-one, but after our individual commissioner meetings about the budget, I expressed concern there about Casa Azul being in Wilson County and not serving all the population. In a nutshell, she responded that in response to my concerns that were raised in the small budget meeting, the funding recommendation for CIS has been increased from $7,500 to $10,000. Yet, I see here, it's still 7,500. So here we have a staff member that has told a commissioner that the funding had been increased, and now it's back to 7,500. And then when I look at the Mercer Foundation, Touch of the Father's Love, the Nash Arts Council, these are all entities right here in Nash County. Castle Azul does not have a brick and mortar place here in Nash County. And so again, are we going to open it up to other neighboring county organizations and give them Nash County taxpayer money to fund their organizations because they serve individuals in Nash County? Again, we're setting a precedent here. If we're going to say give the American Indian Organization in Halifax funding if they apply, if we're going to give the NAACP funding if they apply, have at it. But we're setting a precedent. I am not in favor of giving Casa Azul, Day Wilson, Nash County taxpayer money.
Chairman Outlaw, may I address?
You may.
I just want to address the information that was provided to you by Ms. Tia Fula. I take responsibility for that. It was the board's decision to put the committee in place and make the recommendation. And when we decided to make that change off of your comments, I shouldn't have done that. So I did reverse that and made sure that what was presented to the board today was the recommendation of the committee, and that if there is a change that is made, that is a board decision. That's why that information changed. I take responsibility for that.
And if that information changed, I should have been notified.
I apologize.
And I was not. And so, here again, and as far as the committee is concerned, I just don't feel that this committee for outside agency funding is doing their due diligence. I mean, I cannot believe we would sit here and consider giving taxpayer money to an outside agency. And Communities in School, it said approved the actual budget, actual funding. It looks like they've never applied. They applied in 23 and 24, and they were turned down. The director even came to us and presented. But you want to give someone in Wilson $2,500 more than you're giving Communities in School, who deals with children. They deal with all children. And Ms. Fula had mentioned, well, we have handicap agencies that only deal with handicap. Yes, we do, but they deal with blacks, they deal with whites, they deal with American Indians, Hispanics, they deal with all of them. Casa de Azul, on their website, on their information with the Secretary of State, says Latinx and Hispanic families. We cannot favor one ethnicity over another.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilkins. Commissioner Davis?
The Mercer Foundation, I'd like to have you to read that one again. I think you possibly might have been on the wrong line when you read that one, but I won't hear it again, so I'll know for sure.
Okay, let's see, the Mercer Foundation.
Yes.
The Mercer Foundation equips disabled veterans with necessary tools, education, and vocational training. The goal is to move homeless veterans towards self-sufficiency. The program provides safe, stable housing, comprehensive support services, and facilities to transition from homelessness to permanent housing. The target is Nash and Edgecombe County veterans who face homelessness or are in need of addressing mental health, substance abuse disorders, or lack of employment. Now, I will say the Mercer Foundation, they do have multi-parts. Last year when they applied to us, it was for a Feeding the Children program.
That's what stuck me, because that's what you have
Okay.
on here.
Well, I apologize. That was a carryover from last year, so they
That's
do
no
have
problem.
two different branches.
Okay.
The Feed the Children branch, which we felt like was more duplicative, and then the veterans, the homeless veterans, was much less duplicative and a need that we felt was unmet in the county.
Okay, I'm straight now, that's what stuck me.
And I will say with last year, we asked them to revise their scope and to use the funding for the veterans portion and not the children's feeding program.
Okay.
So that's what they applied with this year.
Mr. Chairman, the other thing, if the matter is able today, I'd like for you to review with us the decision the board made last year about outside funding. I think I recall it verbatim what we did, but I'd rather hear it from you, and the board probably.
You're talking about the establishment of the committee?
Yes.
Right, so the board did establish a committee and put some criteria in place as far as identifying the focus areas that Ms. Moore went over with the board, and established a funding amount, and also established that that funding amount would grow by the index each year. And so that's what this budget has done this year. It grew by 3.2%. And so that's what the committee has to work with to evaluate the applications that are received and provide the board with a recommendation.
I may have gotten too much into that, but what I read into that was the board felt uncomfortable making these decisions each year about this, and it would lead to a lot more discussion than maybe what the board wanted to buy into. So my recollection is we did this, and then we were going to take the recommendation of the committee that you put together to approve our budget with each year, knowing that if something was there that maybe not suited board members, and I've got one myself, but I'm going to buy into what I thought we did, that we would address it during the year and maybe adjust it moving forward, I thought, but to accept the recommendation as it was put forward to us as is.
That's correct, and it also does help the board with any conflict of interest situation when you've got an independent committee that is making these evaluations and recommendations to the board.
Okay, that's what I thought we had done, but I just want to make sure
Yes,
that I didn't read it wrong.
Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Arrington?
So I'm gonna go back there in a second, but that was some outside agency funding situation that they had some concern and question about, and it was again a organization in Wilson in which you had Commissioner Glenn Wilkins say, "Hey, our thought process was we was gonna have brick and mortar, and there's no brick and mortar asset inside of Nash County for Castle Azul, and so therefore the organization should be granted any dollars." Of course, she's not finished with her conversation there, as it wasn't really addressed by any of the board members. So in just a few moments, I'm going to go back to the video, and we're going to see more of that dialogue in between the board members. And I also want to say good morning to Partis.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I am bright and bushy-eyed, as they say.
Bright and bushy-eyed. There you go. So we're going to go back to this Nash County Commissioners budget work session again, where you're going to see more conversation about Castle Azul as to what again the elephant in the room that hadn't been addressed. There was a comment made about it, and of course Chairman Davis kind of talked about how you can accept the recommendation of the board. And so anyway, we'll go back here to the Nash County budget retreat work session now.
All three were education-based. So we looked at the amount we had and split it equally for them, because looking at their programs, we didn't weigh one of the three as being more important than the other ones, when they all had similar characteristics that we were looking at for their grading criteria. And like I said, all three fell into education.
So anyway, you just grouped them all in the same,
Yes, they were all three education-based. Like I said, all three were very well established, had successful programs, experience, capabilities. So they each serve slightly different populations or have slightly different programs, but we did not think one was more important than the others.
well, I don't know whether that's a good criteria or not, but you explained what y'all did.
Anything else, Commissioner Arrington? Any other comments or discussion? Let me get the board first. Anybody else on the board wish to speak that hadn't spoken?
Just wanted to say I
Hold on a minute.
Somebody else.
Commissioner Howard?
I'll look at Robbie, being the new guy. So help me understand the kind of the comments that's been made. So I understand prior to me coming on, there was something we passed or voted on or decided on as a board that we were going to do a committee, and the committee's making decisions, and then we're just basically accepting this recommendation. Is that how we're doing this going forward, or are we actually sitting here today going to debate the amount of money that's there? Because I'm kind of confused.
I think we're sitting here today looking at a recommendation from this committee, and this board has the authority, if they so desire, to change those recommendations.
Okay. And I just, I'm coming on as being new. I'm fine with
Would that be a fair statement, Ms. Manager?
Sure.
having a committee do that. Maybe if we just get more visibility into it prior to this stage, I guess. I mean, we got a glimpse of this in the small budget meetings, but really there was no discussion. It's kind of, this is what's there. And I'm looking at this kind of as our getting to our final proposal, what we're going to accept as a budget for this year. Maybe if we get more involvement in it, or just visibility, I guess, to
We can
the
back,
criteria and information and the things and what's being done before, then it would make it easier today.
we can back things up, if you so desire, and look at anything at any time we want. I think we started looking at this early March. I know I've seen it twice, and I believe everyone in here has seen it twice. And there has been some discussion on it prior to today. Mr. Davis?
Chairman, I think I see it a little bit different than you do. I felt like that well, first of all, for your comment as the new man, Freddie, we did establish a procedure by which the amount would be moving forward by taking what we had last year, tying it to a cost of living index that would increase each year, so we weren't in here every year trying to determine an amount that would be put in this category of outside agencies. That's one thing we did. I felt like, and I'm probably 100% wrong, that we had kind of a ladies and gentlemen agreement that we would put a lot of faith in the committee and take what they brought forward, so we wouldn't be dealing with it every year. But if there's something that we didn't like here, that we would continue to talk with staff during the whole year moving forward to change the criteria, or let them know what we thought wasn't right, who got too much, who got too little, so we wouldn't be dealing with it budget time every year, is what I got out of it. But I can certainly work under whatever guidelines the board wants to work under.
I'm not going to debate how you see it versus how I see it. I think the board has the authority to make decisions. That's why we're meeting and looking at the budget. So we have the authority to make these decisions. I support the recommendations as they are on the board, but I'm one of 7. There are 6 others that have a voice, and if 4 of them wish to change that, then they certainly have the right and the authority to do it.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Wilkins.
I just want clarification from each one of the board members. If they are all right with giving Castle Azul de Wilson $10,000, if they are all right with staff telling a sitting commissioner that communities in school would be increased to $10,000.
Mr. Wilkins, let me just interject. She explained that.
I understand she explained it, Mr. Chairman.
That point is not on the table.
I would like to know from the county commissioners here if they are in agreement with giving Nash County tax dollars to Wilson County organizations just because they serve individuals here in Nash County. That's what I want to know. And again, there should be some repercussions why I was not notified that that amount changed after a staff member. And if some of you have colluded behind my back, I resent it, Mr. Chairman. I feel you knew that that amount had changed. Ms. Thula knew, and the county manager said she knew. and you all neglected to notify me.
I did neglect to notify you. I
Hold on a
apologize.
minute. Let me just make one statement. I don't collude or hide or keep anything from any member of this board, and I resent that accusation.
Well, Mr.
Let
Chairman.
me finish, Commissioner Wilkins.
Go ahead.
I resent that accusation. I'm as transparent as I can be on everything that I know. I think I've made that very clear. And I have expressed my support for the recommendation. If the other commissioners wish to make a statement on that, they can. They don't have to, but if they wish to, they can.
And that's fine, but you can sit there and say you don't collude, but I feel that you knew that they had changed that amount. I feel you knew that Ms. Fuller sent me that email.
I did not know.
and That's fine.
And that's the end of it.
Well, I would like to know
I don't
from the
lie
other
and I don't
commissioners.
cheat.
I would like to know from the other
that's
commissioners
the
if
end
they
of my
plan
discussion on
on,
that.
if they plan on giving Casa de Azul, a Wilson organization that does not have a brick and mortar place here in Nash County, $10,000.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Boone.
Commissioner Davis hit on one of the points I wanted to make, and there was reference to the work of the committee. On behalf of the committee, and I'm not on that committee, but as far as the committee doing their due diligence, I would say the committee followed the criteria and the guidelines that they were provided. And if we want to change the criteria and guidelines, that is clearly within the purview of the board.
Which this
Tell them what the
board,
rules are, what we want them to do, and I have full confidence that that committee will execute that mission. But it's difficult for them to anticipate what concerns may be that have not heretofore been expressed. So I have confidence in the work the committee has done. But again, if we want to, if the board, not we, if the board wants to change that, I'm not part of we, it's the board. If the board wants to change that, that's fine.
and I totally agree with that, this board set that committee in place and approved that committee. They've done their work according to their criteria, and this Casa de Azul was funded last year, so it's not a precedent. It would have been a precedent last year, but it's not this year. But again, if the board wishes to change anything, I agree with your approach, change the rules. Emily?
I'll say it was a precedent to award a Wilson County one, but we do have two other agencies whose brick and mortar location is in Edgecombe County. So we have previously and historically for many years awarded foundations or nonprofits whose locations were outside of Nash
Down East
County
Partnership would be one of those.
and then Tri-County Industries, but they
Exactly.
serve Nash County residents.
And we have long funded those two institutions. Other comments or questions, discussion? Commissioner Arrington?
Well, I would just say that it'd probably be a good idea if we want to revisit the criteria of the committee each year and see if there's anything that we want to update, change. So just as a comment to possibly revisit, so that the committee will all understand the criteria.
I'll make a note of that, and I assume everyone else will. Other comments? Commissioner Legg?
I'd just like to comment that I appreciate the work of the committee. It's not easy work, and I think you have to have some kind of.
So that's some of it. So what really drove home to me was the conversation about giving a Wilson County organization $10,000 of Nash County's taxpayers' money. This is true, authentic Nash County's taxpayers' money, because this is coming from ad valorem taxes being collected. This is how this money is funded into that pot. Not occupancy tax. It's funded by other people visiting a community. But in direct correlation, where you have Nash saying don't give a dime to Edgecombe County or to Rocky Mount to spend in Edgecombe County because of the occupancy tax not being collected in Edgecombe County. But yet Edgecombe County is one of the driving factors as an aid to support the occupancy tax being collected. So, and then later on, and I can probably go back and play it, but later on they do drive home the issue about the two organizations that are planted in Edgecombe County. But as the commissioners say later on, those two organizations are City of Rocky Mount. So City of Rocky Mount is a unique situation between two counties. And so therefore, you're serving or supporting Tri-County Industries or the Downey's Partnership for Children, because they're serving individuals who live in both counties. And so there's a shared situation. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the City of Rocky Mount also contributes, and maybe even the Edgecombe County government, Edgecombe County Commissioners probably too. Had to look at their budget and see for the outside funding agencies. But it's all a supported effort there to make that happen. But again, driving home the idea that you have members of the Nash County commissions commission, that's right, commission, who basically, at least in this work session, is saying, hey, yeah, we'll get the money to Wilson. Not only do we did it last year, we'll do it this year too. We'll double down on it. Meanwhile, when you have like communities and schools who are getting $7,500, saying, well, look, if you're gonna give them some money, get them $5, give a difference of at least give your in city or in county organizations more than the outside organizations. But that's not what's seemingly to happen, and maybe it will and maybe it won't. You only know when you approve a final budget. But that was kind of interesting. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, vote, people. I mean, the only way that we can change what we disagree with is to get some people who are more like-minded and believe that money should stay, or at least give more money to community and schools. You know, I'm not against helping others, but who gets to decide who gets to help outside of the county?
Yeah, and so what he did here in Nash County was create a organization, not an organization, but a committee that was under, Nash County employees who would then determine what outside organization would get the money. Now, I'm gonna go here in this part of the meeting, and then this is the conclusion of it. But we'll deal with it here because again, an hour later, it came back up.
So it was not. I mean, if it came up an hour later, it's not resolved.
I don't think this meeting was called for any resolution anyway. I mean, it was a budget retreat.
Okay.
And so it was just to get the information, and then they kind of make a determination at the actual vote of the meeting, or the budget rather, how they will fund this, that, and the third. Let me see if this is a marker point.
At this point in time, another comment that I made is I'd like for us to adopt a budget this year without any use of fund balance appropriation, because we have lived on the backs of lapsed salaries to close that gap in the past. That doesn't seem to be the model that the current board wants to operate under. So if we're not going to have that cushion, we've got to get it right up front, knowing we may not have the lapsed salaries to balance it on or to get us back. And certainly at the end of the year, we do not want to come anywhere near $6, $7, or $8 million fund balance appropriation to balance the budget or actual expenditures at the end of the year. They were the things that stand out, Mr. Chairman, at this point in time. Thank you.
Any other comments? Any comments? Okay.
Excuse me, I did leave off one. Apologize. I do wish for us to make sure moving forward that under the outside agency fundings, we look at the criteria that Ms. Wilkins brought forward of bricks and mortar and see if that's a criteria we need to make an adjustment on. I think it's a valid point, and what I mean by that is if they actually got a facility in Nash County or in her thought process, Edgecombe County, I understand that point well, because it is Rocky Mount, but if that's a criteria we need to look at, if they actually got a facility here, we probably ought to certainly let the committee know that. Thank you, sir.
Any other board member have comments? Staff members, any comments?
If I could just clarify an earlier conversation, I did just want to, since we did talk about it publicly, I apologize to my Assistant County Manager, Ms. Tia Fula, because we did present the outside agency funding and did share with Commissioner Wilkins that we would make that change in the budget. I did have somebody question why we would do that when the board had established the committee to make the recommendation. And so I asked for that to be changed back, and she did let me know that she had emailed you that information, and my response to her was that I would reach out to you, and I failed to do that. And so I apologize again for that failure.
Okay. All right, I'm going to make a few brief remarks, and then I'm going to call for a motion to adjourn. First, I want to apologize to you, Gwen, for losing my composure. And next, I want to say this to this entire board. I have never, in my entire life, had my integrity questioned. And I take exception to that. I know what the word collude means, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you what it means. Cooperate in a secret or unlawful way in order to deceive or gain advantage over others. Now listen, I've been sitting in this chair since December, and I have been as totally transparent as I know to be. As a matter of fact, I may be transparent to a fault at times. I try to share with you everything I know. I do not keep anything from you. It has been my only goal, my only objective since I took this seat was to try to bring people together, because Lord knows we do enough fighting in Nash County. So that's what my objective has been. That's what I want to do, because I feel like if we bring people together, then together we're going to achieve more than if we go forward divided. So with that said, I want you to listen to me very closely when I say this. If I don't have the trust and the support of this board, then I don't want to sit in this chair. And I will gladly give this chair up immediately. If I don't have your trust and your support, if you think that I'm doing things that are inappropriate, not like they should be done, then I will gladly turn this chair over to Vice Chair Leggett or to any person that you so choose. Now, today's Wednesday, so you let me know by the end of this week if I have your trust and support. And if I do, I'll continue to function. If I don't, I'll move to District 5, and that's where I'll reside until my next election comes up. And I'll continue to do what I can do to bring people together. Is there a motion to adjourn?
And I missed the other part. I got to go back and find where they actually talked about Rocky Mount and Edgecombe County. But anyway, that was the other part I wanted to share with you at the end. He didn't collude.
Well, one thing about it, he acknowledged that they do enough arguing. So why are you arguing?
Hello, and the other piece is, I just wonder how many commissioners from Wednesday to Friday called him and said, "Hey, Chairman Outlaw, you have my support, you have my trust. I want you to continue to be the chairman." I did talk to one person in the commission. I can tell you, they didn't call him. So I do know that he didn't get one call. So of the 6 members, there's 7 total, he was making the 6 members that would have called. I know one of the 6 did not call him. Hey, caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Mr. Bronson, I think Commissioner Wilkes was exactly right. It's very apparent to me that somebody excluded her out of that email transaction.
Oh, sure.
And she should be upset. And no, we should not. They should not be funding anybody from Wilson County based on their criteria, which is, if I heard it right, they excluded ethnicity. So they may be funding, what's the name of the organizations here in Edgecombe County?
Downey's Partnership. Yeah, Tri-County Downey's Partnership.
Yeah, yeah. But they're all, the ethnicity is different there.
Yeah.
and they're only saying Hispanics and Indians. That's not fair. So no, they shouldn't get any funding. And it was an oversight, so they first voted them in. And then why are you going to give them more money than you do the counties that's within the county?
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense, none whatsoever. And she's right. And the person that was speaking saying that he would resign from the post, he needs to go ahead and consider it for himself. Nobody should have to make his mind up because it was no transparency, none whatsoever. So I hope Commissioner Wilkes continue to speak up the way she did, and that's what we need to do, basically, in these meetings. It's not no meet and greet. It's to take care of business. And I've said many a times, when Rocky Mountain gives some of these nonprofits, they don't have anything, they don't give any type of report as far as I know to say what they're doing with the money. That's not fair. Are you paying somebody's salary, or are you helping the organization itself? So we need to sit back and think about why we're giving money, and when we give it, be accountable for it. It's just like Tom Harris and Lance Dawson last week. They asked the OIC to present this, that, one thing, another. I never heard them asking the other organization that. So, I listen, but apparently some people don't. Thank you.
Thank you. 252-407-8432. That's 252-407-8432. The interesting thing that come out of this as well is it was said that a person questioned why would they be changing the recommendation of the committee. And so then the question is, who raised the question? Because then that would be some collusion. Because if you had an issue with what Commissioner Gwen Wilkins brought up, and then you went to someone else, the manager in this case, and said, you should. Our thought process was to accept the recommendation of the board. You should have went to Commissioner Wilkins and said, Commissioner Wilkins, I heard that you are wanting. Did you have some issue with this? Let's at least have the recommendation board presented. Then, as a board, we change it. But at least let's follow this process or whatever. But obviously, I could see how she could use the word that there was some collusion going on to do things in secret, being that one party knew there was, and even if it was another staff member on Nash County, whoever it was, right? There was something that went ahead. Then someone could argue that, well, then Commissioner Wilkins was colluding with the manager to change things as well before the board got there. So it's all in how you perceive it. I would certainly say that I think in past practices, they certainly gave recommendations. That's why they presented to the county commissioners before they even presented in this open platform, right? Because what is the reason of giving you a sheet of paper to say, I'm going to give this to you, but I'm going to show it to you again in public, right? I'm giving it to you because maybe you might got some issues. So let's try to work those out before it gets to the public square, right? Otherwise, there would be no reason to even have any conversation for them to see it twice. I mean, that in itself makes no sense. So if your policy was to take the recommendation of the committee, there's no need to see the recommendation of the committee until this setting in the budget retreat. Otherwise, it seemed like some lying is going on. Yeah.
Some uncertainty. Yeah. Should we not? Or can we not? Maybe not.
What's your thoughts? How you feeling? Does it make you hot? Does it make you sweat? Right? So,
But the thing about it is when you have normal behavior that's been going on for so long to you, and now somebody comes in and say, this is abnormal practice, and you've been doing this all along, and now somewhat has been exposed to things that have been happening. This could be the situation. We never know, because we don't know how many times have pieces of paper been passed out before and nobody caught it, or it didn't slip up and get exposed that this is what's been going on.
And my thing is, why are the Nash County Commissioners so heartburned on giving a Wilson County agency some dollars?
Yeah.
That is, but yet they also heartburn on, and again, and I go back and stress this very, very appropriately, that the taxation or the dollars that is outside funding aids, they are direct dollars from Nash County taxpayers. That is dollars that you pay from your vehicle tax.
And they high.
That you
And
pay.
they high.
That you pay.
I see why they high.
You see how they're going to Wilson, right? That you pay for property tax and etc. And the same is true for me for property I have in Nash County. So there is a situation in which you got direct tax dollars going to a Wilson organization, but meanwhile, you had a whole situation, Nash County Tourism Development Board, that talked about, well, don't give the occupancy tax. That don't come from Nash County taxpayers, right? This comes from people who are that's living elsewhere, coming to the area and staying in hotels, and say, look, because some of that money is generated. In fact, what I heard from the city council meeting is that 100% of the occupancy tax collected for that Nash County tourism occupancy tax derives from the city of Rocky Mount, city limits, 100%. And so that's because all the hotels that pay is in Nash County, right? And so then you got to question, why are they coming? They coming for that big old sports complex. They're coming for events at the event center. Sports complex is a seasonal operation. The Rocky Mount Event Center is a 12-month operation. So when you start quantifying the dollars that are generated or events that are coming from people staying out of town for multiple days, I will say that Edgecombe County's building has a great benefit
to Nash County.
And I also would say that it would also probably demonstrate that there is a definite need for the creation of a hotel in Edgecombe County. That is absolutely what needs to happen. And again, I'll say it again until Jesus comes back, or until it happens, is that when a hoteler comes or developer comes to the city of Rocky Mount, the city of Rocky Mount needs to roll out the red carpet to them for them to locate a hotel on the soils of Edgecombe County, wherever it is in Edgecombe County. So that occupancy tax is going and supporting additional tourism in Edgecombe County of Rocky Mount. So you're building a whole city and not a piece of a city. It's time out for this piecemeal building type situation and look at things holistically and recognize that Rocky Mount is a complete city.
Yes.
It's incomplete if you cut off Nash. It's incomplete if you cut off Edgecombe. Together, though, that section of both counties make this unique and amazing city called Rocky Mount, North Carolina.
And you can't have one without the other.
There you go. Want to say good morning to those who have tuned in, though, and that is Alice Davis, Barbara Smith, Mary Helen, Vernice Harris, Lucy Boyer, Andre Smiley, Star Grace, Lorraine Pitts, Allison Williams, George Batts. Thank you all for tuning in. Hey, caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Commissioner Gwen Wilkins.
Hey, Commissioner, how are you?
Good morning.
I'm doing well. I just wanted to call in the part that Bronson said that he missed was when I shot back and said, I know we have Downey's partnership in Edgecombe County, but the city of Rocky Mount is one city. We have Edgecombe and we have Nash in the city of Rocky Mount. Now, if Downey's partnership were in the county of Edgecombe all the way in Tarboro, yes, I would have had the same thing to say that I say about Casa Azul. But that is not the case. Downey's partnership is a part of Rocky Mount, just like Nash County is. And I support giving Downey's partnership their funding.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and straight from your mouth as well. We appreciate that. And I thank you for serving, and thank you for speaking loud about things that matter to you and hopefully to the citizens and residents of Nash County as well.
And I appreciate that, Bronson, and I'm going to go on this. That committee was formed, yes, it was, but understand we have the power to change a decision by the planning board. You would think these commissioners would have the power to change a decision by a committee that was formed by them. They're hiding behind do what the committee says, do what the committee says. No, we have the power to change that, and I pray that they do the right thing when we meet to accept the budget. I pray that they change this. So I appreciate everything you do, and I appreciate your callers. Take care.
Thank you. Commissioner Gwen Wilkins there saying, hey, she hoped they will change this situation, as that it is Ron
As
Hart.
Spike Lee say, do the right thing.
I think when she said, I pray that do the right thing. So that would be the mantra between now and the acceptance of the Nash County budget as it relates to outside funding. We will be sharing with you other cities and towns and the other Edgecombe County as well, as they're presenting budgets here soon. During this budget process, of course, we always look through Rocky Mount's budget as to what they're doing, and they're getting underway. Well, they've been underway with the budget process, so we'll be looking for those formal documents coming out here pretty soon, as we're just about at the end of April. It's crazy. It's about to be May.
Oh, my goodness.
And then all budgets must be approved by June the 30th for all municipalities and counties.
And state.
Yeah, they make the rules to break the rules at the end of the day.
Oh my God.
Have we had a budget approved by June 30th for the state of North Carolina?
This probably will be the first year.
You think it's going to happen?
I mean, they're behind it, so why not? This is what they want. I mean, it's nobody to oppose what they put in the budget. That's my opinion.
Sure it was. I mean, when Governor Cooper was there, you had a veto-proof majority there, right? Here you
but
don't
they
have
didn't.
that.
They didn't like Governor Cooper's budget proposal.
Right.
I don't think they have anything against Josh Stein's government proposal. I haven't seen anybody say that they disagree with anything that he's put in there. I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, listen, it looks like we're off television. Let me go and get off Facebook as well.
And radio.
And so we still on radio.
Oh, okay.
But we're definitely off television. But we're on Facebook Live and YouTube. But anyway, I'll be back tomorrow to talk more about things happening in our state, our city, and our nation. Make it a great and fantastic Monday. What's going on with you today?
What's going on with me today?
Just chilling, living life, loving the Lord.
Enjoy Easter Monday.
There you go. So we'll see you next time on WNCR TV Now.